Hey Reddit, this is my first post here, so bear with me. I never thought my life would take such a weird turn, but here we are, TLDR at the bottom. So, I'm a 25-year-old guy living a pretty average life. I work at a tech startup, have a small group of friends, and a girlfriend who's way out of my league. My family has always been pretty low-key. My mom is a teacher, and my dad is an accountant. And then there's my grandpa. He's always been a quiet guy who never talked much about his past. All I knew was that he played guitar and loved old rock records. Growing up, I'd always see my grandpa strumming his guitar and humming tunes. He'd tell me stories about bands he loved, concerts he went to, and famous musicians he supposedly met. But I thought he was just a big fan with a vivid imagination. My dad never talked much about Grandpa's past, and I didn't push. A few weeks ago, my grandpa passed away. It was tough on all of us, especially my dad. We decided to go through his things and keep some mementos. In his attic, we found boxes of old vinyl records, stacks of photos, and a bunch of letters. As I was sifting through the records, I found one with a cover that looked vaguely familiar. It was a band called The Silver Comets, and the guy on the cover looked a lot like a younger version of my grandpa. I showed it to my dad, and his face went pale. Turns out, my grandpa wasn't just a fan of rock music. He was a freaking rock star. He was the lead guitarist of the Silver Comets, a band that was huge in the late 60s and early 70s. They had a few hit songs, toured the world, and even played at some iconic festivals. My dad told me that Grandpa left the band to live a quieter life when my dad was born, and he never looked back. I did some Googling and found out that the Silver Comets had a cult following. I listened to their music and recognized a couple of their songs from movies and TV shows. It was mind-blowing to think that my grandpa, the quiet guy who used to play lullabies for me on his guitar, was once a rock legend. I felt like I had missed out on so many stories and experiences he could have shared. I also felt a bit angry that he'd kept this part of his life hidden. Why didn't he tell us? Why didn't he tell me? I decided to do something about it. I gathered all his records, photos, and letters and started piecing together his life. I've been sharing stories about him on social media, and the response has been overwhelming. Fans of the Silver Comets reached out, sharing their memories and love for the band. It's been incredible to see how much he meant to so many people. Yesterday, I visited his grave and played one of his songs on my phone. It felt like the right way to honor his memory. I wish I had known him better, but I'm grateful for the time we had and for the legacy he left behind. So yeah, Tifu by not knowing my grandpa was a famous rock star. But in a way, it also brought me closer to him and helped me appreciate the man he was. TLDR. Found out my grandpa, who I thought was just a quiet guy who loved guitar, was actually a famous rock star from the 60s and 70s. Now I'm sharing his legacy with the world.